Welcome! My name is Kelly.
And I'm Nathan.
And this is Fanimated, an animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. And today is a Whatcha watching day when we just gush about all the things we've been watching recently and just all of the many anime that have been taking up my time as of late. But first, I want to say that, like, one of the things I have been watching is, of course, the new season of Fruits Basket. Surprising nobody. And I have been doing, like, mini reviews on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, about every single episode. So you should definitely check that out if you're also a Fruits Basket fan. And it's been a crazy wild ride so far, and so many tears have already been shed, and it's only been a few episodes. That is gonna get even crazier, I'm sure. And then we also had a review recently on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to leave us a review if you haven't already. It's a lot of fun, and it honestly makes my day 10 million times better when I see those. And this review just says, Ducktales 2017. I've said enough.
Well, I guess that's got to be on the schedule then.
Absolutely. I'm kind of waiting until the final season is available on Disney Plus. I haven't checked that recently to see if it is, but once it's available on Disney Plus, then absolutely I've got to talk about DuckTales. It's the best thing. It makes me so happy. It's just hilarious and fantastic. And to all those who haven't watched it, the first 2 seasons are on Disney Plus. So there you go. Have something to watch. But I could definitely geek out about that one for a long time. So definitely on the master list of every single show that we have to talk about for sure.
Yeah, I haven't watched the new DuckTales, but I think I had like 2 of the original DuckTales movies on VHS.
Nice.
I clearly remember there was one that was like too spooky, like it was a haunted house or something, didn't want to watch it. And then there was one where there was like a bunch of Vikings.
Great.
I'm not exactly sure, but they definitely had like a Viking ship, and there was lots of like war horns, and they had to run away from like an iceberg collapse, and it was real intense.
That does sound super intense. I never watched the OG DuckTales. Like, I don't know. I love the reboot though. It's just so fun. They're really like, it's just a fun adventure, and it makes me happy. So, especially if you have any nostalgia connected to it, like, you should try it out. You should give it an episode or 2 and see if you like it. It's just kind of fun and whimsical and a family going on adventures. It's a lot of fun. So yes, DuckTales is amazing, and we will definitely be getting to that at some point. But aside from that, Nathan, what have you been watching recently?
Oh, I've been watching actual anime. The last couple times that we've done this, I haven't been watching anything, but now I've got a little backlog of stuff.
Awesome.
We'll start with the not so great anime. I watched the Dota 2 Dragon's Blood anime on Netflix because I played so much Dota 2 in college, and I was very curious about what they'd actually do with it, considering it is a game without any story. It is what they would call a MOBA, so a game much like League of Legends, or what are the other ones? Smite. I tried a bunch of them. Heroes. What's the Blit? Whatever.
You're asking the wrong person if you're about to ask a video game question.
Heroes of the Storm. That's the Blizzard one. But yeah, it was like you picked a video game. It's the same sort of producers that they did for like Castlevania, and I guess some of the other video games that Netflix has been adapting. But they played it really safe. They picked really safe characters to explore. They had a really safe like plot line. Everything was just like incredibly no risks were taken sort of thing, and it made the whole series just seem unexceptional. When they really have like a huge room, I think, to really explore um, the world of Dota because it is incredibly vast, and they essentially picked only four of the characters out of hundreds, and they're all your very standard person types, and they follow all of their archetypes, and it's fun to watch. And I said this before, I think that it's fun to watch like a scavenger hunt,
Mhm.
not like an actual story entertainment of me just trying to pick out all the interesting things of like, oh, they pulled that from the game, or oh, look at this like authentic costuming design from the game, or this little thing. And it's more of a Nathan getting to gush about a thing that he put way too much time into rather than an actual entertaining anime. So if you know anything about the video game, I think you might enjoy it. But if you know absolutely nothing about it, it's a very meh meh like anime.
Yeah, I watched the first episode, and it's done by Studio Mir, so the animation is great. Like, there's right off the bat starts with an action scene. And I was like, this is good. Like, I'm thoroughly enjoying this action sequence. Um, but yeah, the characters are pretty bland. Like, granted, I didn't get too far into like the hook of it. How it kind of ends the first episode, and I didn't quite follow that through to see what the special secret princess power is. But um,
Wait, you can't guess what Davion the Dragon's Knight's secret princess power is?
well, it seems pretty obvious from the end of the first episode, but wasn't interested enough to keep watching. Oh, it's not like in the name or anything. Goodness.
Yeah, there's the characters are very unsurprising, simply because they've already sort of been archetyped so heavily
Hmm.
through the game. But I still felt like they could have done more with the actual conflict and the actual like driving forces. And then like when they did create unique characters, they're fantastic. Like one of the best NPCs is Marana's like pupil sidekick is like completely mute except she like whistles to like call attention to everything, and just is one of the most like unique characters in the whole show, and
Hmm.
everyone just sort of like loves her as she like saves everyone constantly
I love that. I love that so much.
while she has like a vow of silence or something going on, but like that character doesn't exist in Dota.
Hmm.
And so it's like really interesting to see what they can add to it,
Yeah.
um, while also having just like a huge backlog of, it's not like lore exactly, because like I could talk about Dota for like so much because I just think it's incredibly interesting as just a video game, as an esport, as like the different story arcs of how it got created and how like successful it's been so far. But like there's like very limited actual story or lore around the stuff in the game unless you go really really deep. And so that's like something that's very like interesting of like, oh well, technically this like anime is now also creating lore around these characters that is now getting like
Yeah.
sort of wrapped into things. So they could have done a lot more with it, but I feel like they played it super safe. But it's surprising that Valve, the company who makes Dota 2, like even let this happen. They keep all of
Mm.
their like proprietary different titles and stuff really close to the chest. And so I don't know who pulled all of the strings to make this happen,
Yeah.
but it's cool that they did it. And it's set up so that they could do more. I don't know if this sort of lackluster response that they got will lead them to do more or not, but
From what the game sounds like, I really hope they get another chance to do like a season 2 or something. even if it's about different characters or something. Just if they have so much content to explore, like it would be really cool to, maybe if they played it safe this season, to expand on it somehow for the next. But either way, like, it's a solid anime, and I would recommend, especially if you enjoy the game, you should watch it. But
Hmm.
cool. What else have you been watching?
The other thing that's actual anime and is actually good. I watched well, here's the thing. I watched something off of my to watch list, Kelly.
What?
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 Who does such a thing?
You're just supposed to add things, not subtract them.
I know, but I finally figured out I had some time and I found this anime. It's a single season, but it's called Grimgar of Illusions and Ashes.
Hmm.
So it's named a couple different things, but if you just search for Grimgar, Illusions and Ashes, you'll probably find it somewhere. I watched it on Funimation. But
I have not heard of this so at all, so please enlighten me.
yeah, it came out a couple of years ago at this point, and it never got a season two. But it's essentially like a slice of life fantasy isekai
Slice of
where
life. Okay.
you have all of your like traditional like isekai like normal kids get stuck in fantasy video game world, but instead of it being like Sword Art Online where he's like, I'm a beta player and I know all the cheat codes and like goes and just destroys everybody. It's
Yeah.
like, no, these are legit kids that don't know what's going on and can't fight with swords, trying to be, soldiers in this fantasy world and defeat like a goblin. Like the first episode is like them trying to beat one goblin as a team of six absolutely horrible adventurers. And like, it's real brutal and it's real like really difficult for them to like do things, and like they're just like scraping by and like trying to make enough money to like pay for food and like pay for their housing and like all of this like really like micro things that you wouldn't think of that like are just annoying like paying bills, but you're gonna have to pay the innkeeper, and
Yeah.
like it looks into more of like the party dynamics and the day-to-day life of these fantasy adventurers than like anything else I'd ever seen. So it's like a really strange but intriguing blending of the two genres. um and but then it's still just like full of heart and really sad and really joyful at times, and um just it's a good quick, it's a 12 episode one season.
So it's a group of kids that are stuck. So it's like all of them are from our world, sort of thing.
Well, yeah, here's the interesting thing about it. So essentially, they're like, we know we came from someplace else because it's like a huge group of people showed up at like this tower thing. And then they all got like, they got like wrangled into this like volunteer soldiers thing, and so they're volunteer soldiers and they have to go around like clearing essentially like little mobs from towns, like little goblins or kobolds or like the starting bad things, and like it's very set up of just like video game-ish type things,
Mm-hmm.
but none of them can remember where they came from,
Oh,
but they'll have like vocal like remembrance, like literally the party leader at one point is just like, come on guys, this isn't like a video game, and then another kid goes like, what's a video game? Because like they can't, they'll say things like they would from their previous lives but don't remember why
that's
at
so
all.
fascinating. Oh my
And
gosh.
so like the main character is like getting like this whole like intro dialogue thing like presented to him of like, here you are in Grimgar, you're going to be a volunteer soldier. And he was like, man, I should like write this down on my phone, and like checks his pocket, and then he goes, what's a phone? And like he can't remember like, but like that instinctual idea of like going to look for his phone like is
Yeah,
still with him.
that's so crazy.
Right. But none of that ever gets paid off, so don't go into it like you're gonna
Oh,
find this solution. It's like they know that they've come from someplace else, but they have to still adapt to this new world, and they have no memory of their past and as they continue on, they just become more and more accustomed and acclimated to this new fantasy world.
Well, it sounds really fun. I just found it on Funimation and I added it to my watch list.
All right. Well, maybe you'll one day get it
One
off of your
day.
to watch list.
Well, one thing that was on my watch list and isn't anymore is Assassination Classroom. And I watched the entire thing the past couple weeks, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Assassination Classroom is basically like it's a comedy. I say question. It's a comedy, except the premise doesn't sound like a comedy. It's a group of middle school students who are tasked by the government to assassinate their teacher.
Right. But their teacher
Is a monster.
sort of.
He's like a yellow guy with tentacles and a weird face.
Yes, he's like the if a smiley face was a monster, a squid monster.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
It is odd. It is odd. And you eventually find out more about this teacher and why he's there and who he is and what's going on. But what I really love about this show is that like it feels kind of My Hero Academia-esque because it's like a classroom and you get all of these different types of characters. But what I think it does even better than My Hero is like really focusing on all of the different members of the class. Like, yes, there is a main character, but most of the time it doesn't feel like there is a main character. Like, you get to really like get to know the entire class, and you know, a lot of characters get development, and by the end you're really just like, I love all of these kids and I'm sad that it's over. And you know, it's very, you know, heartwarming, and it was just fun. So I recommend it. It's like 50 some episodes, and it's just a good one. It's a good one.
Do we figure out why he blew up the moon though?
Yes, we we do. For those who don't know, the teacher blew up the moon.
It's a very strange premise to start with.
Yes.
I watched the first episode. I don't know about it.
Maybe not your cup of tea.
I don't know about it. It raises a lot of questions that I don't really know if I need answered.
Don't worry, you get a couple backstory episodes on the teacher and what's going on. But ultimately, it's like it's about, oh my gosh, the power of, you know, teamwork. Typical shonen anime. But truly, like there are other people trying to assassinate him because like he's got a bounty on his head, and like the government is trying, like everyone is trying to kill this guy. But it's like the kids are working to like all year to try to figure it out, and they slowly uncover his weaknesses, and like, you know, it's just fun, and you're rooting for them, but you know, halfway through you're kind of like, but I also don't want him to die, because like you end up liking the teacher too. And it's just like, it's just really good, and I'm just proud of these kids, and they grow so much and they develop, and I'm just happy.
All right. The character design in this show is just so strange because every single like kid in the class is like anime protagonist, bright spiky hair. We're gonna school uniform, and then the teacher is just so weird monstrosity yellow thing. It's just it's like they're like, oh, his teacher, this person, and I'm like, that's not a person. That's like just a strange squid being. Like, is it even a person? It's so strange. It doesn't. I don't know.
It didn't vibe with you. That's all right. I definitely liked it, and I know other people will too. So you can try it out, or you can just watch the first episode and think it's weird, which it is. Like I'm not denying that it is weird. Like this is a weird show. Okay, um, I've embraced it.
Okay. What else have you been watching, Kelly?
Um, in my quest to go through some like classic older anime, I finally watched the movie Akira. And it is classic 80s anime. It is known for being, just an absolute pillar in the history of anime and history of anime in the West. Like, it definitely sparked a ton of interest in Japanese animation from across the world. And it's just like, if anyone loves anime, if anyone loves animation, they should watch Akira at least once. It's a classic. On that note, it is the weirdest freaking movie I've ever seen.
Oh man, I came in with these safe bets. These just like, hey, they're sort of modern anime, and Kelly's over here just in just weird anime land of just, hey, you wanna watch some anime, kids? Just coming in hot with them. Okay, so what? I don't even know the synopsis of Akira. I've barely ever heard of it. What even is it about if it is so weird?
What is it even about? That is the question, isn't it?
Oh, it's one of those movies. Okay.
It's one of those. It's like the ending of Evangelion, but the entire thing is the ending of Evangelion.
Okay.
If you haven't seen Evangelion, that's like peak weird anime at the end. But unlike Evangelion, I'll go back and rewatch Evangelion at some point because I need to process, and I need to I will rewatch that several times because it's fascinating and makes me think critically. No, Akira is just straight up weird. Like,
Okay.
okay, it's this weird like future slash. Yeah, it's a future, I guess, because it's like 2040 something, way in the future. Ooh.
Yeah.
Again, this is 80s. And there's just like this weird, like lots of weird political things going on that you never really get a firm answer to. And you've got this kid who's part of a motorcycle gang, okay? And his friend gets captured by the government, and like they come because they're doing these experiments on what seems to be these like children, and these children, I'm telling you, this is whack, okay? These children have like weird powers but also look like old people, like they are children.
Oh boy. All right. Yeah, that sounds real traditional weird anime.
It's weird. It's so weird. But it's just one of those shows that is like, it's trying to say a lot about like religion and government and like who knows. But from like from my perspective, I'm just like, at the end, you're just like, what just happened? What is this? Like, there's really great, interesting scenes, and like animation is superb. Like, that's why it's so well known. But I'm just like, I still am just like, what did I just watch? It was weird. And I'm sure someone who has like, written a dissertation on this film can tell me all the ways in which, it's fascinating and intriguing and, says whatever it says it's supposed to be saying. But like, I, for one, have watched it once, and that's it. I'm good.
Yeah, it is strange how much just like the context of it would change any sort of art or media. Um, and I think we talked about that a decent amount in on other stuff. But yeah, it's a movie, if it's from the 80s, almost 30-ish years ago.
Yeah.
Different political environment, different international environment.
Oh yeah.
Um, so,
It really I had to go and like read some articles about it right after I finished watching, because I was like, what did I like? I seriously was just like, what did I just watch? Like, what is the point of this? Um, and again, like, I recommend it if people are anime fans or animation fans, because like the art itself is incredible. Even if like the plot seems really disconnected and you are left even at the end with gaping holes in the structure of what's going on, like, which granted, like, I definitely am open to, and I enjoy like thinking critically about media. Obviously that's why I have a podcast, but like, uh I think they're, for me at least, especially coming from a perspective of not only however many years, 30 some years in the future of when this was made, and also living in the US versus the Japanese, author who originally wrote it, and the animators who worked on it. Like, I have a completely different perspective than theirs. And so I'm sure, at the time in the place, like, it, definitely resonated in different ways. And, just like we read classic works of literature, we can gain, information and insights into things by watching older animation. And I, for one, though, I didn't really connect with it. So, But yeah, I can now say I've watched it.
yes. Well, in the words of the Green Brothers in their last podcast, how does something become a classic? Well, it's got to be weird.
Yes, that's so true. If it's a classic, it's got to be weird. And yep. Akira, if nothing else, is very weird. Oh man. Again, I watch a lot of anime, like a lot. These days, it seems to be never ending. And I'll just quick also mention that I'm halfway through Soul Eater.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Which is like, in and of itself, a different kind of classic. Mm-hmm. Shonen battle anime, super fun. It just like these kids who work for death and basically try to defeat souls that have gone astray. It's a lot of fun. It's just your classic crazy group of protagonists who all have their own special abilities and weird personality traits.
Special abilities? Half of them can turn into weapons, guys.
Yes.
They're little Grim Reapers running around. Except none of them are actual Grim Reapers except for Kid Death.
Death the Kid, who is my favorite character.
Which is unbelievable.
How is that so unbelievable? Guys, the first 3 episodes are introducing the main pairs, okay? And the 3rd episode comes around, introduces Death the Kid. Takes me like 10 minutes for me to be like, him, I choose him, best boy.
Oh, man.
He is the literal son of death. And yet he is completely stopped by anything that is or is not perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah, he's what? Autistic OCD in a comedic way, but he's just like your loner, edgy teen boy.
Well, he's got his, Patty and what's her face.
Oh, great.
So they're their little team, little trio. Mm-hmm. And like, I kid you not, I about lost it when one of the twins, because again, everyone are weapons and then what they call a weapon meister, and who uses the weapon. So he's got twins who are his dual guns, and one of the twins was like plucking her eyebrows or something, and then he was like I just lost it. He was like, can I do it for you? Like, he wants to make sure it's symmetrical. And then he's like, okay, he like brings out a drafting board on the table and is like, I'm going to draft this out before I it's so good. I love it. It's so ridiculous and wonderful, and just, it's just like you would think the Son of Death would be like this super scary, like you say he's edgy loner boy. Like, no, he's not. He's a complete dork.
What do you mean? He's like the embodiment of a hot topic.
And you're saying none of the other characters are? Like, they're all living in Hot Topic.
It was that era, I suppose.
Oh, it's gold. Okay, I love this show. It just hits right in the nostalgic shonen, spot. So I'm enjoying it a lot. And this was like one of your first anime that you ever watched, right?
Yeah, it was one of the first like Netflix animes. So I watched like a couple of different things, and then I got really hooked on Fairy Tail. And once I ran out of Fairy Tail episodes on Netflix, I needed something else. So then I watched Soul Eater.
Yeah.
And so that's got to have been, I don't know, 7 years ago at this point. So it's been quite a while. So I couldn't tell you a single plot point. I don't know if there are plot points, really.
I mean, bad guy comes. Defeat bad guy. That's about it.
There's bad guys. I think they were like, we're going to get souls and infighting. That's all I remember.
Yeah, because the witches are their, like, mortal enemies.
There's witches?
It's clearly been a while for you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's a lot of fun. I absolutely love it. So, definitely recommend, if you haven't watched it already, which I'm assuming most anime fans have, and I'm just behind the times. So.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those that kind of gets brushed aside from, the bigger Dragon Ball Z Naruto, because it came just like a little bit later.
Yeah. I mean, it's Studio Bone, so it's like really well done. It is absolutely fantastic. And also has the main character is a female, like a main female lead in a shonen. Hello.
With a giant scythe.
Yes.
That is also a main character boy.
Again, gold. Absolute gold. Speaking of shonen, I really quick want to ask you, I know there are only a few episodes out right now, but My Hero Academia Season 5.
I've watched the first 3 episodes. Episode 2 with Todoroki fam is the best thing ever.
Absolutely.
I don't care about any of the other characters. This is my hero, Todoroki. He is the best boy. I want all the best for him.
Agreed. I care more about Todoroki than anyone else as well. I just want the whole show to just be about Todoroki. But then you would anger so many people.
Don't care. They can all be as angry as Bakugo, and they can go suck it. Like, literally the moment when Endeavor walks in on his family eating dinner, and Todoroki looks up at him and goes, "Huh, that scar looks rough." As now they have matching scars on their eyes, and they just silently look at each other while Todoroki slurps noodles.
It's so good.
Best scene.
I
the best
lost
scene they've
it.
ever had.
Lost it.
It was so good. It's fantastic.
Oh man. Oh, it's just good. Good stuff. It's gonna be a fun little silly fight against the other class and training and whatnot, and
well, it'll be fun until it gets crashed by actual villains, like every one of their tournament arcs.
Valid. We're all just setting the timer, and it's been It's been blank days since League of Villains interrupted class. You know what else? I also love how even in the show they address the fact that Class 1A has gotten stronger, not by training, but by being thwarted by evil villains at literally every school trip and every like they're like, oh, they're behind in their training. That's because they've been like attacked by villains every 5 episodes. It's great. Yeah, so My Hero is great. It's getting me through this spring anime season along with Fruits Basket. That's kind of it for my spring watch so far. Just wait. Maybe next Whatcha I'll have watched more spring anime, but in the meantime, I've got plenty to watch. Also, by the time this episode comes out, we will have seen Demon Slayer Mugen Train.
Oh, we will.
Yes.
Okay.
If I remember, here is future us telling you what we think of it. All right, we just saw Demon Slayer. How y'all feeling?
Oh my gosh,
My expectations were met.
indeed. I'm crying. It's fine.
Great, awesome. I'm glad we enjoyed it, probably. I would assume, I would hope.
Double thumbs up. Glad it didn't suck.
Fun times to be had. All right, that's kind of it for us today. That's all that's not all I have to talk about, but we'll save that for another time.
Sounds good, Kelly.
So thanks again for joining me on this What You Watching.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Reminder that you guys can go to patreon.com/fanimated to vote for upcoming episode topics, hear bonus episodes and vlogs, and all sorts of other content. Those that support the podcast, I have my eternal gratitude and thanks because you make this podcast possible. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Fanimated Podcast. We're on Twitter too if you're there, but I'm not there that often, so just warning you. I just like to remind people that sometimes, I'm there if that's more your jam. And again, on YouTube, Fanimated, talking about Fruits Basket every week. If you need more Fruits Basket in your life and, listen to other people squeal about it, I'm there. The music is provided by Purple Planet Music, and that is all for today. We'll talk to you next week with something or other. Who knows? It's a mystery.
Oh, okay.
Great. All right. We'll talk to you next week, and stay tuned.
And stay animated.
Isn't it kind of a little bit sad that you know that your watch list will never be completed?
As it should be, right?
That's true. You don't want to run out of things to watch. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah, what would you ever do then? Stare at the walls?
Go back to reading books.
Gross. These don't move.
Where's the animation? The animation is in my mind.
What?